And welcome to the Cruise Show, everybody. We're back with you, draft day number 2 on YouTube. And tonight in draft, Niners have just drafted in the second round. They took Drake Jackson out of USC. We're going to break it all down for you on the Cruise Show, carrying right from the second round into the third round, which is where we're at right now. Let me get the band the rest of the night off. Thanks for coming. There we go. Good night, everybody. But we welcome in Ryan Smith, and making his debut on the show, the man, the myth himself, the younger Krug, appearing tonight as a monkey, young Christopher. Christopher, how are you?
Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
It's an honor. Now you are the monkey, right? Let me put you in the main screen here. Say hello to everybody, Christopher.
Hello. Thank you for watching. I'm the monkey.
All right, so Christopher's along with us, and he's got his thoughts on the draft. Of course, the great Ryan Smith in the house as well. Say hi to everybody, Ryan. Good to see you.
Hello, everyone.
And, of course, it is draft day, round 2, round 3, day 2 of the NFL draft, 3-day extravaganza, and we're going to answer your questions, your comments, and everything else right now and talk a little bit about Drake Jackson as we lead towards the 49ers' next selection. The Niners pick, let's see, they're in the third round right now. Bears just took one of my favorite players. They just took Bayless Jones Jr. So let me look at round 3 here, because that's where we're at. We are about 10 picks, roughly 10 picks, maybe 7 picks into round 3. The Seahawks are on the clock right now. Seahawks have already had a very, very good draft. We'll talk about that, but they took Kenneth Walker and Boye Mafe in the second round. John Schneider, outstanding. And we were trying to catch up with Softy Mahler, but we'll have to do it next week. But the Seahawks are now once again on the clock. Here is how the third round has gone. Luke Fortner went, the big offensive lineman from Kentucky. He went to Baltimore or to Jacksonville to start it off. And then further down, some of the other notable guys in the third round, Chad Muma, the linebacker from Wyoming, went to Jacksonville. Trent Baalke just took him. And then Bayless Jones Jr., who I did a whole breakdown on YouTube a few weeks ago. You can check out my video on Bayless Jones. Started at SC, transferred to Tennessee, and he's kind of like a Deebo Samuel. I mean, he's a running back, he's a wide receiver, he's a return man, he's just really good. And I thought he would probably last till day 3 of the draft because he's one of the older prospects in the draft, but he didn't. The Bears just snapped him up, and their new general manager from Kansas City. So Bayless Jones Jr. now a member of the Chicago Bears. But, guys, let's go back to the 49ers pick. They took Drake Jackson. Let's look at the second round because that's kind of where things have begun for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan today. 49ers did not pick until 61. Bengals traded right in front of them and took Cam Taylor-Britt, a safety out of Nebraska, who I didn't know a whole lot about. I didn't watch a lot of film on Taylor-Britt, but, man, he was awesome to look at in the highlights. And it makes you wonder, did they trade in front of the 49ers because that was a player the Niners wanted, or was they just trading to get in front of somebody else? Maybe
did you? Matt Mayoko actually had a tweet about that. He said,
what's he saying?
He tweeted, the Bengals traded up in front of the 49ers to get the player they believe San Francisco wanted.
So there you go. Cam Taylor-Britt. And he looked athletic. I mean, seriously, he looked like a guy who could play the slot corner. He looked, physical, thick, and I didn't see tons of film on him, but he looked really, really good. And he looked like the kind of guy who could play the corner or the safety spot. So Cam Taylor-Britt goes from Nebraska to Cincinnati with the 60th pick overall. And then the Niners were on the board at 61. And they took Drake Jackson, the defensive end from USC. And guys, this is going to be an interesting pick over time because Drake Jackson has got great speed. I mean, seriously, you can see the speed. They say he's got wide receiver type speed, and you could see it. He's got the speed and he's got the motor. He's definitely not the most physical guy against the run, but where the Niners are looking for that awesome D Ford replacement, and this guy is the closest you'll get to D Ford. He's in that D Ford size range. He's not 270. He's more like 245, 250, 255 in that range. But he's got a tremendous motor, and he's got an elite first step. So that, a lot of times, I'm always looking for toughness and for what kind of first step do you have. He's a speed rusher, and as far as countering back inside and strength against the run and some of the things that make you a multiple down player, I don't know that he is that kind of player. He came out after his junior year. This year he had 37 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. He did have a forced fumble, and he did have a pick. 26 pressures for Drake Jackson in 166 pass rush snaps. But what really, he came to SC, had a great freshman year, wasn't as good in year 2 and year 3. 3-year player. He's coming out after the 3rd year. Had, dropped some weight, got a little leaner. It'll be interesting to see if they, play him in a rotation. But if you just want that guy to come firing off the edge with a ton of speed, an edge rusher with speed, with a great first step to replace what you had in D Ford, who in a lot of ways is that edge rusher with that great first step. Drake Jackson is for you. But there were, Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati was on the board. I mean, there's still a number of good pass rushers that were on the board that, when people look back, they're going to, compare Drake Jackson to some of these guys. And, you say, well, who were we talking about? DeMarvin Leal, who's not really an edge rusher as much as he's about 285, but he's a defensive end. He's one. Myjai Sanders, Michael Clemens, Tyreek Smith from Ohio State, David Ane from Houston. I don't. Trey Williams from Arkansas is one of my favorites. So I will say this: there is a emphasis on speed in today's game, and and rushing the passer. And if you can rush the passer and you can run, man, the arrow's pointing up. Jay Aguayo 56 donates. He says Jackson was first round on some mock drafts. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it because he's got elite first step quickness. He's got first round athleticism. There's just no question about it. And he's an incredible speed rusher. And if you're looking for a speed rusher opposite Bosa, there were a number of guys in this draft. Sam Williams, who went earlier to Dallas. He was a great speed rusher. The guy that's still on the board, Amare Barno, he's a terrific speed rusher. So Boye Mafe, who went to Seattle at the 40th pick in round 2, he's an elite speed rusher. David Ajabo, how about that pick? David Ajabo goes to Baltimore with the 45th pick, the defensive end out of Michigan, and he was coming off a torn Achilles. So, guys, what do you think? Ryan, Christopher, who wants to go first? Ryan, why don't you give it a roll here? What'd you think of the selection of Drake Jackson, and give me your impression?
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of other people, you see Nakobi Dean just the slides starting, and it looked like from what I was reading on Twitter, it looks like there's some issues with potentially him being healthy, some pec groin injuries before his pro day and whatnot. And perhaps that's a reason why, in addition to him being smaller, that he was falling. But I was hoping they'd grab Dean. But then, you know what? I'm not going to, pretend like I knew much about Drake Jackson. But I will say all the USC guys, I follow a lot of people on Twitter that are like dual USC guys, Rams guys, and Laker guys. And I was seeing a lot of them saying, 10 picks before we got on the board, like, I swear to God, if Drake Jackson makes it all the way to the Niners, I'm going to be pissed. And so I was watching some film breakdowns of him, and they were saying that, I guess, like you were saying, he had that great freshman year. And then it seemed like with the scheme change, they tried to get him to slim down a little bit, and he was playing more linebacker than edge. And that he seemed to kind of have a little bit of trouble with that. But look, I mean, when you're on the Niners, like, we just want a guy who's going to line up with speed and traits. Like, it sounds like, I mean, a lot of the things that he has going for him are the type of things that would make a first round edge. I think on this team, I think it's awesome, man. I think it's a great pick.
It really shows, guys, how they view their defense. They like guys who can get after the quarterback, and it's all about rushing the passer for the 49ers. And then they put in a lot of emphasis on getting to the quarterback. All right, young Christopher, give us your thoughts on Drake Jackson. the 49ers' first pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, a round 2 selection, 61st overall. What'd you think of him?
I mean, I like the pick. He's 6'2", 254. They call him the Freak at USC. He did not run the 40-yard dash, but they say he's a great speedster. And
Okay.
I'm excited. I mean, we get a lot of injuries on the defensive line last year, and D Ford's always injured, so it'd be good to get some more depth. I mean, I like the pick.
Nice. Christopher appearing as the monkey tonight on the screen. Let's hit the stream and see what people have to say. Interesting. We got a lot of different comments here. Spy Nick Danger says, "Go Larry." Thank you very much. We've got this one from Brian. Larry, we have so many more priorities other than linebacker. Well, in my opinion, when you start going for, I need this, I need that, that's where you start making mistakes. I'd rather you just go for the best athlete available, to be honest. Now, you always have to fill your needs at some point, whether it be the draft or free agency, but I think you get into trouble when you start saying we have, you're just because your priorities are, let's say, free safety and guard and wide receiver and running back, whatever they are, doesn't mean that you have to draft them in that order. You might like players at different spots in the draft. Just because your number one need is guard doesn't mean you need to take a guard in the first round. Just means that you need to find a guard in the draft, and that has to be kind of something that you come back to on day 3 if you don't get it done on day 1 or day 2. In this case, we're in day 2, and this is the best, highest pick on the board. I think you take the best athlete you can, and they're looking for somebody opposite Nick Bosa who can burn the edge and get up the field in that wide 9 and sack the quarterback. I mean, they felt like they didn't put enough pressure on Stafford. And, Bosa is somewhat, if you're going to pay Bosa a king's ransom, and they are, you're wasting his talent if you don't have somebody coming off that other edge. It's like having a security system, but you're leaving your back door open. You can't. Why pay for the security system if you're going to leave the back door open? Why have a Nick Bosa if the quarterback can slip out the back door because you have nobody on the other side? So Drake Jackson is a need. A speed rusher to force that quarterback to step into the lap of Javon Kinlaw is a need. I kind of like the fact they went with undersized guys because, to me, I'd rather prioritize speed and closing ability over 265 or 270. To me, that the speed element of it's more important, especially when you're in a division that has Kyler Murray. I mean, you need speed to sack Kyler Murray. A couple other comments here from people. Let's see. We got this one. Okay, well, we read that one already. GTC Reels. Wait, it moved on me. Here we go. GTC Reels. I have no problem with the pick. All right. This one from Ken Rem. He says, I would have taken Benito. That was the other one. Benito from Oklahoma went a couple picks later. And Nick Benito went to, I think, Denver at the 64th pick. As far as what order would you have taken him in? The 49ers had their board. I liked what I saw from Benito. In fact, I watched Benito last night. Greg Cosell and the guys broke down the defensive end prospects, and he was one of the guys that they broke down. Nick Benito definitely is a guy with a motor, and he can dip his shoulder and get to the quarterback. Interesting pick, guys. What do you think of this one? Desmond Ridder off the board. Christopher, I know you're a big Desmond Ridder fan.
Oh, no way.
What's that? I'm trying to move Christopher. Yeah, he's like Desmond Ridder. Christopher, Desmond Ridder to Atlanta. Your thoughts?
Ooh, before Malik Willis? Wow.
Malik Willis is still on the board, and Desmond Ridder is off the board. How about that?
Wow. I liked Ridder. I mean, he changed his interception rate from 20 to 5 last year.
Drops those picks, takes care of the football. They say Ridder is a very mature player. I saw him at Cincinnati. I mean, the guy made a lot of college starts, and he had a lot of college wins, and he did it at the University of Cincinnati. So to me, I think he's a polished player. That's interesting. I would not be shocked if you told me at some point this year that Desmond Ridder went to Atlanta and beat out Marcus Mariota. I wouldn't be shocked. Would you guys be?
No, I think that's kind of a good compliment, actually, like the, starter or, if Mariota ends up being the backup, if he beats him out, I think that's kind of a good combination, both mature dudes. I got to say, I was sort of expecting them to maybe take a flyer on Malik Willis at the 6th pick in the 2nd round when they ended up going with Ebiketie out of Penn State, which I like the pick, but I don't know. Didn't it kind of feel like, Mariota, I think people have kind of turned around on Mariota and kind of think he's like a nice, bridge quarterback, but they're getting all these freaking weapons, man. And got to get someone back there that can sling the rock. And I like Ridder. I like all the intangibles with Ridder. I will say, though, just because I was so wide receiver focused, I watched a lot of Alec Pierce tape, and watching Alec Pierce kind of made me a little bit lower on Ridder. I felt like there was a lot of underthrown balls, a lot of he was constantly getting separation, wasn't quite finding them in the perfect slot. But I don't know. There's just not that many quarterbacks this year. To grab Ridder in the 3rd round, I think most people would take that before the draft.
Absolutely. Christopher, what do you think? Give us your tiny monkey breakdown.
Of course. I love Mariota, but I also love Ridder. I think Ridder and Drake London is going to be a great combo. I think that, and Kyle Pitts. I know Calvin Ridley got suspended for the year for other things, but I love that pick, actually. That's a great pick. I think.
Go ahead. You got another thought? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. Well, John Brower in the chat, guys, says, Larry, who do you like with the picks?
And a strong draft for wide receivers. Bayless.
So there's, that's the question here is like, the 49ers now have 2 more picks in the 3rd round. Now, we're reading about Nakobi Dean. Nakobi Dean, I don't care what the deal is. I would absolutely trade my 2 third-round picks to move up to get him. I think he's that good of a player. His surprising fall, according to the reports I'm reading, guys, is a result of a severe pec strain. So he strained his pectoral, probably lifting, and he opted not to have surgery on it. So that's one of the reasons. I think the other reason, he's 5'11" and change and 230 pounds, and they want you to be more like 6'1" to 6'4" and 245 pounds. So I just think that's a big part of the Nakobi Dean fall. But I'll say this: if he's on the board when the 49ers pick
93.
What is it?
93.
93. Is that the next pick? No, it's got to be before that. I think they picked before that.
They have a late one in the 3rd, and then they have I think they have the last compensatory.
Well, maybe you're right then. Maybe it is 90. So it's
like 93 and 105, right?
Yeah, 93 and 105. So good call, Christopher. So 93 and 105. As far as best players available and that kind of thing, what have they done so far? They've got the edge rusher. So it won't be an edge rusher. It could be, looking at the board. Malik Willis is still there. Do you take Malik Willis as the backup
I know.
To Trey?
Get another quarterback in there that, there's all these rumors about the trades.
Ravens have just taken Travis Jones, the huge defensive tackle from the University of Connecticut. But that's an interesting one. Like, who do you go with if you're the 49ers? Now, I'm looking at the board. I would say some of the more attractive players left on the board. Greg Dulcich, the tight end from UCLA.
Yeah.
Huge play guy, very fast. He you want your double tight end set with both guys actually doing something. Kittle and Dulcich would be really, really dangerous. D'Angelo Malone, but they just went edge rusher, so they probably don't do that. Nick Cross is still there, who I really like. Kirby Joseph from Illinois, if you're going safety. If you're going wide receiver, Jalen Tolbert is a really good player.
Like
He's
him.
on the board. Very interesting name is Jalen Tolbert. He's a guy that really looked good in the All-Star game. There were a couple of moments there in that All-Star game where he was like the best player on the field. Perion Winfrey, the big defensive tackle from Oklahoma, dominated in Mobile. He was terrific. And, you're talking about a guy who can rush the passer from the inside, and an interior rusher is always, interesting. Do you go corner, Marcus Jones? Do you go running back? I think, one thing with Deebo, maybe you go running back. Brian Robinson, the Alabama back, is a back they looked at, I know, and have a lot of interest in. He's about 225 pounds. If you're going interior line, I really like Dylan Parham from Memphis. He's on the board and will probably be on the board at that point. If you're going wide receiver, Khalil Shakir from Boise State has got terrific ball skills. And if you're saying what kind of receiver would go well with Trey Lance, I think it's a guy like Shakir, who's got great ball skills and plucks the ball with his hands. And Trey's throwing missiles, right? And they're coming in hot. You better have a guy with real, strong ball skills who can really pluck the football. And a guy like Shakir, fits that category. So I would say they'd probably be looking at those guys, the guys that we mentioned. Shakir, if they're going wide receiver, Parham, if they're going to go interior, offensive line, Brian Robinson, if they're going to go running back, Marcus Jones is a corner. I mean, where do you guys think right now, if pass rusher was one of their needs, what's the primary need for the 49ers outside of pass rusher? Brian, we'll start with you. What do you think?
I think I want to grab a corner. I want another corner. Like you're talking about with the running back and the tight ends, like those both sound really nice. And I do feel like Shanahan he's been swimming around adding like another kind of stud tight end. I mean, he's been sniffing around Austin Hooper, it seems like, for a while. And I don't know, I feel like that could really kind of be good for Lance, another big target, and, the dual tight end sets, whatnot. But I think we just got to get another corner. Unless, there's someone they really, really love. I also just would like maybe a wide receiver that could take the top off of the defense a little bit. But I don't know how many. I mean,
there's a lot. Calvin Austin out of Memphis could fly. Bo Melton from Rutgers, very, very fast and good size. Danny Gray's the real home run hitter from SMU. I think he'll be a guy that I'll be kind of looking for. And then there's a lot of day 3 receivers that are going to be exciting. But to me, the Georgia defense. Nakobi Dean, Larry, hella this, hella that, says Larry. How about Channing Tindall? That he's the better Georgia linebacker. I love Tindall as well. Tindall runs like the wind, and the pursuit speed that he shows is incredible. And he's got even better size than Nakobi Dean. But Dean was the guy. That's the thing. They were both on the same defense, and Nakobi Dean was the All-American. He was the guy who just seemed like he made play after play after play. Torn pec or no torn, not a torn pec, but if he's got a pec injury or not, I sure would be. I would be very interested in Nakobi Dean if he fell to the 3rd round. At that point, who cares if he's got a pec injury? He's a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker.
Absolutely. And Larry, before we get to Monkey Man Chris's answer, I'm going to put up for everybody watching right now, whether you're involved in the chat or not, I'm going to put up the phone number to call in, because I feel like it's draft day. Like, people like to call in with their thoughts. So I'm going to try out the phone number. Let's see if we can get some people calling in to add to the show. All right.
Sounds good. By the way, Alex Wright from UAB just went to the Browns. And if you watch this guy, he's flying off the edge as a defensive left end. And just 6'5", 270. 49ers showed some interest in Wright as well. And he's just a monster. He really is a monster. Christopher, what do you think with Malik Willis? If Malik Willis was there when the Niners pick in the 3rd round, do you go Malik Willis? Trey?
You got to, right? Like,
I don't know if you have to. Well, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Depends who's on the board. If Nakobi Dean's there, I got to take him. If Marcus Jones, he's a great corner. I agree with Rye. I love him too. You talking about the Alabama running back Robinson?
Brian Robinson.
I don't like him. I prefer the Florida running back Pierce. I feel like he's on better.
It is interesting because Pierce was not a heavily used running back at the University of Florida. But if you read the Bruce Feldman freaks list at the beginning of the year, this guy, Damian Pierce has freakish leg strength. I mean, whatever, I forget the numbers on it, but I mean, you're talking about ridiculous. This guy's an absolute weight room monster as far as, squats and that kind of thing. He's got great power in his legs. And then when you flip on the film, you can see it. I mean, you can see the power in his legs. Now, the one thing about, he's not necessarily bulky, but he doesn't go down first crack. And Dameon Pierce is kind of interesting. It's like, the one thing that the 49ers have been unable to do under Kyle Shanahan is be great in short yardage. Now, this year they were a whole lot better, but in previous years, they had really struggled on goal line and short yardage situations. So if you could get that back, some of the backs they've had have been really nifty backs. Like I love Elijah Mitchell. Really, really good pick and slide, very nifty player. But he's not going to move the pile. I mean, he's going to give you a big effort, but he's not a power back who can move the pile. It would be nice if they got to 3rd and 2, if they could go to a Dameon Pierce type back, and keep I look at him as a continuity piece, just keep the drive alive. But the thing about it is, the more I watch Brian Robinson, the more I think, wow, wait a second. This is a really exciting running back at 225 who can really move. So that one is going to be a tough one. What direction do they go there? Do they go speed receiver? They definitely need a vertical threat. A lot of people want to point to offensive line. The UCLA kid, Sean Ryan's intriguing. Dylan Parham from Memphis is intriguing. I know people that like Darian Kennard from Kentucky. I definitely like Justin Schaffer, the monster guard from Georgia, who just kept opening hole after hole after hole in the SEC against some of the best defensive linemen in the country. Schaffer is just a monster in the run game. I don't know if he's anything more than a right guard. I don't even know if he has good enough movement skills to fit the Niners scheme, but he'll definitely kick your butt out of the hole. I mean, he is a guy who absolutely is powerful. And then the offensive lineman, Zevion Furcron, who plays for Southern Illinois, look for him on day 3. And somebody would be a Krug, now you're showing off. No, I'm not showing off. I saw that guy earlier this year, and I really, really liked him. Okay, let's see. Who else do we have in the chat? Got this one. It says, crap, Larry does have a ghost in his house. Y'all see the orbit floating. Now, I have a door that's open and the sunlight's hitting it, and we're getting a little reflection in the Krug studio here in the creek. But overall, I would say, this thing has gone. Overall, I would have to say it's been an interesting draft, thus far. Anybody stand out to either of you guys as the big winner?
If you don't mind me hopping in, I gotta say, I think that an interesting question to pose for you guys to answer is, what would you rather? It looks like we're keeping Deebo, but what would you rather? Would you rather Deebo Samuel, or would you rather Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and Breece Hall? Now, I don't know if we could have pulled all that off, but I'm just saying, just asking.
Yeah, I hear you. And I'm on record as saying I would have made the trade.
Yeah.
But I understand it's an unpopular stance because the fans know and love Deebo. And at the end of the day, he's a star player in the prime of his career who people love rooting for and are invested in. So I get it. Believe me, I get it. But it's football, man. And I would always take 3 for 1. Jaguayo 56 donates. He says, Nakobi Dean was the Fred Warner of the Alabama defense. Of course, you meant the Georgia defense. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. A guy like Nakobi Dean was, he flies around and makes a ton of plays. He's instinctive. To me, too, I mean, I don't even worry about the fact that he doesn't have great arm length or that he's a little on the smallish side. His movement skills are incredible. To me, I see a 2-down or a 3-down linebacker who's obviously a stack backer who's going to make plays behind a big defense. And, for the 49ers, it's not a need. I get it. It's not. I mean, you have Dre Greenlaw, you got Azeez Al-Shaair, you got Fred Warner himself, and you don't need Nakobi Dean. You really don't. But when great players fall, that's when you pounce. And, last year, who was the guy who I was screaming for on draft day in round 2? It was Jeremiah round 1. Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah. Denver just took Greg Dulcich. That is a terrific pick. Get ready for Russell Wilson to Greg Dulcich. Denver just, by the way, traded their tight end, right? Didn't they trade Noah Fant?
Seattle. Yeah.
And they have Albert O, the kid from Missouri, still there. But now they had Dulcich. Believe me, Russell Wilson will make Greg Dulcich a big-time player. That is a terrific addition if you're a Denver Bronco fan. But, to me, well, we got another one here. From GTC Reels making a donation. I love Deebo, but get Parag out of here. Parag's job is to save the organization money. I mean, that's what his job is. So he does his job really, really well. And he gets players at a good rate. And for the most part, I got no problem with Parag. I think Parag's really, really smart. And I think overall, on a day like today or tomorrow, the draft, he's phenomenal at canvassing the league and helping them find trades, moving up, moving down, finding value. I think Parag has a lot of uses. I think he's really, really smart. But also there, when you're dealing in negotiations, especially when it's like situational like this, it takes a lot of finesse. And it'll be interesting to see if the Niners can put, Deebo back in a positive frame of mind, so he feels good. Because that's also what it's about. It's not just about getting the best price. It's making the player feel good as well. And you got to have your guys motivated because you're not babysitting them. They're out training on their own. And yeah, they have plenty of motivation, but you definitely want your players in the right frame of mind. And we'll see. Deebo's demanded a trade. They didn't acquiesce, and now we'll see if they can put it all together and get him signed and make him happy and figure it out. To me, the one thing about the whole Deebo thing, guys, is that it was not without risk either way. There was going to be a risk. You were either going to risk upsetting Deebo by lowballing him. You're going to risk paying too much if you pay him the going rate. You bow to him and you give him $70 million guaranteed. I mean, there's risk either way. Give me your guys' thoughts. What do you think, Ryan, on the Deebo front?
Oh, it looks like we got our first call.
Oh, we got a call?
Yeah. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, you're on with the Krug Show.
What's going on?
Hey,
who is this?
Just wanted to touch on a couple of things on the draft.
Go for it.
And
Yeah,
we got you. Fire away.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Drake Jackson. I mean, he's a good pick, and he was in some mock drafts. Like I said, he was in the first round. But I was looking for a little bit more of an explosive guy that can bend a little bit more, to put a little bit more pressure, sort of like D Ford type. I know those
I think this guy is the speed guy. This is, there are rushers in this draft that, D'Angelo Malone, for example, from Western Kentucky, just went to the Falcons in the third round. There are a lot of guys that, in a lot of different shapes and sizes in this draft. Jake Jackson is in the 245, 255 range. He's a real speed rusher. So speed is his game for sure. He's got great first step quickness. He knows how to dip that shoulder and get to the quarterback. He's very, very fast off the edge. The question is leverage and power. And is he, can he defend against the run well enough to play on the early downs? Is he a pass rush specialist? Is he coming in on third down solely, or can you use him on first and second down? I don't know that. I don't know. What I do know is he's a great speed rusher with a terrific motor and a terrific first step. Wide receiver speed, 26 pressures this last year, better first year than these last 2 years. But watching his close to the quarterback, the speed is there for sure. The question is the power and the leverage. Can he play the run on first and second down? I don't know. But on this Niner defensive front, I think you're going to see him. We're going to see him in that wide nine come off the edge.
What do you think about us not getting a center with a Mac retirement, or I don't know if he is going to retire, not going to retire? Tart, at safety? Is he gonna come back? Not gonna come back?
Tart's not coming back. Tart's not coming back. No, Tart's
Okay.
not coming back. And Mac is likely to retire. But it doesn't mean, first of all, it's a center. You don't need they picked up Jonathan Goodwin in free agency. You can find centers. I mean, you can find interior guys. I'm not, I saw a bunch of people who were looking at different mock drafts and like, oh, well, the 49ers will start with a center. It's like, what? You can get good centers on day 3 of the draft. But your elite corners, your elite skill position guys, your elite pass rushers, your speed guys, your difference makers athletically on defense, those guys go in round 1 and round 2 and round 3. So, as I said, I think I like a number of centers in this draft. Parham is a guy that I really like. He'll probably come off the board, sometime this round, maybe next round. But they're setting up to be sitting pretty right now for a couple different guys at that spot. Best available, according to Mel Kiper, is Nakobi Dean, Malik Willis, Matt Corral. But then there's other guys down that list that are offensive linemen. Maybe they'll grab one. I think the UCLA kid, Sean Ryan's intriguing. He's a guard. Falele from Minnesota is a tackle. He's kind of an interesting big-bodied guy, probably a right tackle.
He's a monster. He's a monster.
I mean, if you're talking about interior, I like Dylan Parham from Memphis, who's a little bit of a brawler, kind of a tough guy inside. But, I don't necessarily – just because they need a center doesn't mean they need to use the next pick on a center. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think about Nick Cross or Marcus Jones, the corner from Houston?
Yes. I think those guys would be on the short list for sure. Marcus Jones, the one thing about Marcus Jones, he's 5'8". That's the question with Marcus Jones. He's a 5'8" corner. And there's some good players. Tariq Woolen is a 6'4" corner from University of Texas at San Antonio. Zion McCollum's a good-sized corner from Sam Houston. Marcus Jones is an elite mover, but he's 5'8". And there's other guys. I mean, looking further down the list, Joshua Williams from Fayetteville State, Caleb Evans from Missouri. All those guys, are bigger-bodied corners. I like Nick Cross. If it was me and I were making this pick, I'd take Nick Cross. He's the second-rated player on the board. You can use Jimmy Ward at strong safety. You can play Nick Cross at free safety. Now you got 2 safeties that can cover the field. To me, of the group, I like Nick Cross. But I don't know that I would take Nick Cross over, just the best available player. I mean, if they, the best available player might be worth taking instead of Nick Cross. And the best available player, did Nakobi Dean? He just went to the Eagles. So Nakobi Dean is now a Philadelphia Eagle. That's a great.
Eagles are doing nice job.
The Eagles, yeah, seriously, 83. That's 83rd overall in the draft for Nakobi Dean.
I thought he was going to go in the top 25.
Did you?
And the Ravens have been doing a good draft.
Yeah, the Ravens.
Oh, God, I know. Also, I feel like Pickens, there's some people that are really high. I've heard people say that. I mean, even Greg Cosell was said that Pickens he thinks might be his the guy he's most interested out of all the receivers. And the fact that the Steelers took him immediately, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I guess he's going to be awesome because they always pick the freaking awesome receivers.
Do you guys think that Jimmy's going to get traded, like before the draft or a little after the draft?
I don't think so. Even though there's always potential for it. I think that because of the money on that contract, I think if he's going to get dealt, it's going to be after he physically checks out. That it's an awful lot of money to have up in the air. You want to get fired as a GM, just make a move for a quarterback with a bad shoulder. I mean, that's negligence as a general manager. So I think it would be nice if they moved him this weekend for some picks and kind of turn the page and let Trey Lance kind of have the spotlight to himself. But I think it's very likely to hang over until at least after June. I think sometime between June and camp, he probably gets moved. Hey, caller, we do appreciate it. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much for taking my call. I appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
Yeah,
You too.
awesome.
You too.
You do.
Have a good one.
Gerardo Sanchez, cheers from Toronto, Canada. Used to be a listener at KMBR. Well, we appreciate you. Brandon West says, love Nick Cross. Yeah, I mean, now we're getting down to it. By the way, we mentioned Baltimore, guys, before having a great draft. So they started with Kyle Hamilton, the Notre Dame safety. Then they went Tyler Linderbaum, the Iowa center. Then they drafted David Ajabu, who would have been a 15th pick in the draft, and they get him in the second round because he tore his Achilles in the workout. Now they've gone Travis Jones, the big two-gapper from the University of Connecticut. What do you think, Christopher? What do you think of the Ravens draft?
Well, they did a lot right, except that they made Lamar Jackson mad by trading his friend, Hollywood Brown. I think they're up there having the best draft so far. Them and the Jets and the Giants, a lot of teams have been making great selections, as the Steelers are about to select right now. And to answer
This is Kevin. By the way, this is not to interrupt you, but this is Kevin Colbert's final draft, and he takes DeMarvin Leal from A&M, who's great. He's not an edge. He's like one of these guys that he's a tweener. He's not an edge rusher. He's 280 pounds.
I think Donovan might be churning onto the show a little bit late. There's a freaking snow monkey on the screen.
What's that?
This guy's just like, why is there a monkey on the screen?
That's Christopher. We're letting Christopher join the show tonight, but he's joining as a monkey. But DeMarvin Leal, I like that. I like that pick for Pittsburgh. I mean, he's a total Steeler defensive lineman. Great motor, super versatile.
I'm not really sure what's happening here.
Mr. X, what's going on?
Just visiting. No trades. Gotta go. I'll catch you guys later.
All right, later, Jimmy. Keep cashing those Subway commercial checks.
We got this one from Brandon West. He says Pickens is a poor man's Julio Jones, in my opinion.
I'd take a poor man's Julio Jones.
Yeah. What do you think, Monkey?
I don't agree. I think Pickens is not as.
Go ahead. We'll answer that as you continue your answer.
Well,
what do you think of is Pickens a poor man's Julio Jones?
I don't know. I don't think so. He went against SEC talent his whole career. I think that's a good pick. I wanted the Niners to get him and Calvin Austin. I think he's still on the board.
Right.
He's a big physical guy.
Let's go to the caller. Caller, identify yourself.
Is this Larry?
This is Larry and Ryan and Christopher, the monkey.
Hey, what's up, Larry? This is Freddie, man. I listen to you on the cone phone. I think you're really knowledgeable.
Appreciate it.
So,
Marcus Jones,
yeah,
by the way.
man.
We were just talking Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones is now off the board. New England Patriots have grabbed Marcus Jones. And Bill Belichick, who's one of the great coaches of defensive backfield play.
I trust but I'll tell you what, I'll trust him on this pick. I don't know about his other picks, though. Taking the Baylor kid like a round too early when there's still, Alec Pierce and all those boys still on the board. I don't know. Picking
his first round selection.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
The Rams said they wanted to get him at 105, and he took him in the first round.
So, caller, what's your name?
Freddie, I listen to you on the cone phone.
Oh, nice, Freddie. Well, hey, welcome aboard, man. What's on your mind?
Well, man, honestly, I don't like the pick. Like you said it. The word that was on my mind is a tweener. Ebicom, Ford, they just don't last. I don't like it.
Well, he's a speed rusher. So he's. I mean, this is the thing with the 49ers. They play the wide nine. Their defensive ends, basically the job is to fire up the field and get and burn the edges and make that quarterback step up off of his spot. And that's what they want to do. That's what D Ford was intended for. That's what he did.
Yeah.
And then D Ford got hurt, and they never really had a replacement. Now they've got some guys, and they're all decent. Jordan Willis is one of my favorite guys. I like Ebu strong.
But
Trey Jackson's got an elite first step. Those guys don't have an elite first step.
I don't know. This guy, he's not it. That's my prediction. I don't want to be a hater, But I'm thinking about it, and what we really needed was a playmaking secondary, a nickelback or on safety. Because if Fonga's not it, to me, that's the hardest position to fill in the NFL. With all these guys, you're going to have all these guys running by you. Marquise Brown now, they got the other guy Moore. I mean, it's a track show out there.
Well, there's no doubt. It's a passing league, and you got to be able to defend the pass. There's no question about that. So that's going to be interesting to see what they do to improve the secondary. Freddie, have a good one, man. Happy draft day. Go Niners.
All right.
Thanks for listening to me and Cone on the Cone Zone. How about this one? The monkey has better insights than Trent Baalke. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the Eagles so far?
I mean, it looks like they've been, how many years in a row is this now where they've taken a swing on a receiver? I kind of understand where they're coming from now, where it's like, all right, we got Devontae Smith. I think we can all agree that he hit. Yeah, he's a little small, but he's a great receiver. And I understand where they're just like, look, like we want a sure thing. Like we are not taking another JJ Arcega-Whiteside or who's another one, Jalen Reagor. They
may trade. There's a lot of talk Jalen Reagor may get dealt now that they picked up AJ Brown. How about the Eagles though? They trade for AJ Brown. They draft Jordan Davis. They monster
Jordan Davis pick.
They picked up Cam Jurgens, the center that a lot of Niner fans were hoping to grab. Now they get Nakobi Dean, really a first-round pick, and they get him with the 18th pick of the third round. They only have 2 more picks left this weekend, one in the 5th round and one in the 7th. But man, if you're Philly, the receiver, the tackle, the center, and a linebacker, that's a pretty good little haul for Howie Roseman.
I actually don't think – I think there's some value on maybe sprinkling a little money on the Eagles to win the division next year.
Rye's always thinking betting angles.
Yeah. By the way, I've just been cashing during this NFL draft. I just put $100 on Christian Watson to be the first receiver taken day 2. There we go. That's another one.
And he is a member of Green Bay.
Yeah, the Devontae Adams replacement.
Oh man, we got this one. Kalba Kamiga, and I hope I didn't butcher that. He says, Freddie is wrong. Drake is the right pick. Played for an underwhelming coaching staff at USC. Was used in wildly different ways. That's true. Give Coach Herrick some time with this guy. Jackson just turned 21. No, I mean, I like him as far as speed guy, tons of athleticism. You can see it. And you're right. They his weight fluctuated. They used him in different capacities. Is he a linebacker? Is he a stand-up guy? Does he have his hand in the dirt? How do you want to use him? The nice thing about the Niner front is they don't ask their defensive ends to do a ton of reading and reacting. It's not like, oh man, this guy's not going to be able to get on the field. It's the wide 9, line up wide and go hunt quarterbacks off the edge. And you just get up the field. And what you really want is you want first step quickness and speed, because that right there is enough to make the quarterback step up. Javon Kinlaw has a sack and a half in 18 career NFL games.
Eesh.
That number has to go up. It's going to go up if you got Bosa on one end and you got another speed rusher on the other side, making the quarterback step up into his lap. If you don't have that, then Javon Kinlaw is never going to sack the quarterback because he's just not fast enough. So it's really important that they have some speed. And then, the other thing, you can get the guy who's 260, you can get the guy who's 270. But to me, you want a smaller guy. You want a smaller, faster player who can get the Kyler Murrays and the Russell Wilsons. And now Russell's not in the division anymore. But if you look at the breakdown of sacks, guys, they used to come from D tackles and defensive ends. Now a higher percentage come from linebackers and safeties and, believe it or not, corners than ever before. Why? Because that's the name of the game. You're going to use speed to close on the quarterback. And that means, like if you watch Seattle's got edge rushers, and they had Darrell Taylor and other guys coming off the edge. But how did they really rush the quarterback in the games head-to-head with the 49ers? It was Bobby Wagner on delayed blitzes up the gut. So that's That's where you're seeing a lot more pass rush coming from your linebackers. The guy that's super intriguing to me that's still on the board that I would really have to think long and hard about because you just drafted an edge rusher. But Amare Barno from Vatek ran in the 4.3s.
Sorry, breaking news.
What do you got?
Malik Willis, Tennessee Titans.
They just drafted him?
Yep. 22.
Oh, wow.
22nd pick in the third round. Wow.
There you go. Tennessee Titans had a nightmare. To me, I thought Tannehill was the reason they checked out. They played terribly. I mean, it's interesting. You move A.J. Brown, but you have Tannehill and this big money deal. And Tannehill was a converted wide receiver from A&M, and he just didn't look good in the playoffs. He was the reason that they checked out. I mean, the 3 picks in the biggest game of the year. So now you get Malik Willis there. At least if Tannehill wets the bed, you got somebody you can turn to. I like it. What do you guys think?
Titans haven't had the worst draft. I mean, they traded for a first-round pick and they got the wide receiver they want because they didn't want to give big money to A.J. Brown, and they don't have to now. The Malik Willis is great. Shows they don't really have that much faith in Ryan Tannehill, which isn't a bad thing because I don't think anyone really has faith in anyone right now in that division. But I don't know. Derrick Henry's like, what's going on? I think this is a good draft for them.
Well, go ahead, Ryan. What do you think?
Oh no, I think it's a great draft for the Titans. I mean, I totally see what they're doing. I mean, I do love the idea also of like if Henry's back and like I don't know what kind of interesting stuff they could draw up on offense with Malik Willis and Derrick Henry back there. I mean, that's kind of fun to think about, really.
Just looking at Tennessee's picks, they traded A.J. Brown, so they have Traylon Burks. They got the big receiver from Arkansas, and I say big. I mean, this guy's 230. I mean, monster. He's huge. And then they took Roger McCreary, a corner from Auburn, who doesn't have great speed, but he's really solid. And then Nicholas Petit Freire, the offensive tackle from the Buckeyes, has got prototypical size and strength. He needs a little development for sure, but he's a for sure NFL offensive lineman. I really like Petit Freire, despite the fact that some people don't feel like his motor is all that strong as far as how serious he is about football and how professional he is. But Malik Willis, if you have your questions about him, that's one thing in the first round, but now you're in the third round, 22nd pick of the third round, and all the risk is gone. So, I mean, if you're Tennessee, I'm shocked. To me, I would much rather have Malik Willis than Kenny Pickett. And I don't know how you guys feel about Kenny Pickett. What do you guys think of Kenny Pickett to the Steelers? Christopher, you got a thought on Kenny Pickett?
I mean, it's a great story. He just got drafted to his hometown team. I like it. He has a great coach to help him with this whole situation for him. I think their offense is going to be nice. They added George Pickens too. So it's going to be him, Najee, George Pickens, Claypool. They might trade him. I heard that was a rumor. I mean, this is a good offense for them right now.
What do you think, Ryan? What do you think of Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh? He wears the 2 gloves. He's got the double jointed thumbs.
Yeah.
My first question is, why do you wear the gloves? What are you wearing the gloves for? I mean, and then we saw him at Indy and at Mobile. And he had 1 glove on, but it was on his throwing hand. So I don't know. And then he measured with small hands. He's got small hands, which always makes you wonder if he's going to be able to control the football in poor weather. What do you think of the pick for the Steelers?
I'm a sentimental guy when it comes to football, and so it kind of fires me up, like watching Mike Tomlin make that call, seeing him cry. It is really cool, the fact that like they share a facility and everything, and it's like 40 years after they didn't take Danny Marino. But talking to Dave Damashek, a big Steelers fan, listening to him last year, I mean, he was making a lot of excuses for Big Ben, but the biggest thing was like he just kept talking about what's Ben supposed to do behind that offensive line. They haven't really done anything to improve that offensive line. And the whole kind of thinking was that, well, if they drafted Malik Willis, at least, he's a guy who can run around back there, and it kind of, it can kind of make up for having a crappy offensive line. But yeah, so in that, I mean, I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings. I also would have to say, if I was a Steelers fan, as happy as I was yesterday, seeing these quarterbacks drop till this late in the draft has to make you feel a little bit like, oof, we might have overpaid a little for the 24-year-old. How old is Trey Lance? 20, 21?
21, I believe.
Yeah.
Riddy says we needed that little extra power and some fresh, speedy legs is what we got with Drake Jackson. Contain. Not sure if he's endorsing. Is that an endorsement or is that a rip of Drake Jackson?
I think that's an endorsement. Also, I totally forgot. I just texted my sister. I asked her if she has any inside info for us. She's just finished up her last year playing USC volleyball. So
that's right.
She gave me she told me the because she was at UCLA and then she's doing a grad year at USC. She told me, you guys do not want Josh Rosen. He was dating one of the girls on the volleyball team, and let's just say, heard a lot of stuff, a lot of red flags.
Josh Rosen had the hot tub in the dorm room.
Yeah.
George Taylor says, trade Jimmy soon. All I want for Christmas is to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. What do you guys think? Should you think Jimmy gets moved this weekend? Christopher, give me your thought.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so, but I don't think so. With that shoulder you mentioned before, it's just not very likely. It's not great, especially if you're a new GM. Like some of these teams got a lot of new GMs that, like, oh yeah, I got this quarterback, but he can't throw. Like, why? Like, this is like, I mean, maybe if we can get a lot of late round picks, because the Niners are great at late round pick selections. I mean, we got George Kittle. We got a running back one. I mean, look at our entire offense. Deebo wasn't a first round pick. Kittle wasn't a first round pick. Like we don't need like big selections just to get our main guys. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. And I think also with Jimmy, what's interesting is that, man, it really makes you think. If he didn't have the shoulder thing and he didn't have surgery, it seems like there was a really good chance we could have traded him today or yesterday, because, I mean, just look at the way the NFL market is reacting to these young quarterbacks in this draft. I mean, I think everyone's pretty much saying, I'll pass. I think I'll wait till next year's class. I mean, it seems like we probably could have got something for him. I mean, especially the Panthers. I don't know. I still feel like the Panthers might be the best fit just because, what's their coach's name again? The
Matt Rule.
Rule. From what I'm hearing, it's that Matt Rule, they don't trust. Matt Rule wants to take a quarterback. They don't trust Matt Rule to take a quarterback because he's kind of on his last leg there. And if they don't want, they don't want to tie their quarterback of the future to a guy who may not be here in a couple of years. So I don't know.
Wayne Newton has made an appearance at the draft, guys. Wayne Newton
really?
Wayne Newton with the Raiders pick. I think Wayne Newton's had some work done. My goodness.
Hey, how about that guy who was doing it for the Minnesota Vikings? He took like 10 minutes to announce the pick. Like,
look at Wayne Newton. He almost looks like a cartoon character. Oh. And look at that face. That's amazing. All right. So, I mean, my goodness. The Raiders are making their pick. They're on the clock. The 49ers it goes Raiders, Bucks, Packers, Niners. So they are coming up on their pick. Let's see who the Raiders take. It should be interesting. And then we'll get into who's the best player on the board for the 49ers. As soon as the Raiders
I think they're going to take the guard from Memphis.
The Raiders are?
Yeah, I think I might be a couple seconds ahead of you guys, but looks like they're going to take the guard from Memphis.
Break the news.
Break the news, Mister. You're in the future. Tell us about what's coming. Do you see a tsunami? Is there a tsunami headed our way? No.
No, they're going to take Dylan Perfom, the guard from Memphis.
Dylan Parham. We were just talking about him. This is a total Raider type offensive lineman. This guy loves to fight. This guy's a brawler. Short area guy with a lot of power, and that's a solid pick. That really is. He's a really powerful guard, and I thought he was on the short list for the 49ers when they pick here in a couple picks. I mean, let's look at the best available guys. I mean, at this point, Matt Corral, according to ESPN, is Kuiper's highest rated guy, the quarterback at Ole Miss. Sam Howell's on the board. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh no, I think Matt Corral's my favorite quarterback.
He's got a good arm, no question. I like Sam Howell, but then there's some interesting guys. Perrion Winfrey, the pass rushing tackle from Oklahoma. Did the Niners go pass rushing tackle? Kirby Joseph, Nick Cross. They're sitting right there. To me, this is the Nick Cross spot right here. If I'm the Niners, I take Nick Cross right here. Kirby Joseph I like as well. Joseph went to Illinois. He's a little bit more thumper than Cross. Cross, those got wheels. Cross runs in the 4.3s and can play that deep middle.
I'd prefer that with how slow Hufanga is. I could use some speed back there.
Or do you go running back? Do you go Brian Robinson or Daniel Pierce?
I don't think so.
Or do you go receiver and Khalil Shakir? That's what I'd be looking at right here. I'd be looking at Khalil Shakir, Brian Robinson, definitely Nick Cross, definitely Kirby Joseph, definitely Perrion Winfrey. The 49ers have such a deep defensive line right now. I don't know that I would go Perrion Winfrey because they seem like they've got a lot of bodies inside. To me, the need is more in the secondary. But if you love Khalil Shakir, because I really do. If you watch Boise State games this year, this guy's got unbelievable, moxie, and he's just terrific ball skills. He plucks the ball with his hands. He doesn't body catch it. I like Shakir quite a bit. He's a guy that I think could step in and help them. Now, I don't know if he's the true deep threat, but man, he's a continuity piece. And if you're going to have, the one thing with Trey Lance, if you're going to have a receiver with Trey Lance, Danny Gray is the home run hitter. He's the speed guy. So if you go speed receiver, you could go Danny Gray right here or maybe the next pick. But if you're going with, the receiver that can make plays for Trey Lance, to me, Khalil Shakir is probably more that guy because he does catch the ball with his hands as opposed to body catch it. Or do you go number one running back? Do you try to go, do they think Brian Robinson, who's, 6'1", 6'2", 225 pounds, pretty fast, pretty impressive athlete, really. His track record, he's sat. He's got, not only is Robinson a good back, he's got low miles because he's been sitting behind all these awesome backs at Bama. So, he didn't even play really until this year. So he's a high. I'm not sure if he's a 5-star or if he's a 4-star, but he's a top recruit who's big, strong, fast, and has low miles. So to me, that one's interesting.
I understand that. Whenever I go back and rewatch these title games or whatever on YouTube, and it's always Bama, and then it's oh wait, TJ Yeldon was the backup running. They always end up having a million guys that are do something in the pros. So a starter for Alabama, I'll pretty down.
I would like Bo Rutgers, Bo Melton from Rutgers.
Yeah,
him and Calvin Johnson are my favorite wide receivers. Him and Calvin Austin from Memphis.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about a guy like Calvin Austin is he's so small. He's a smallish player, and I think he's already come off the board, hasn't he? Oh no, he's still there. Yeah. They list him at 5'8", 170. That's
pretty small.
But if you go speed receiver here, the board is looking good. You got Khalil Shakir, you got Bo Melton, as Christopher just said, from Rutgers. You've got Danny Gray, who ran 4.33 from SMU. You've got Kevin Austin from Notre Dame, Charleston Rambo from Miami. You got a number of receivers there that are really interesting that all run pretty good. The other guy, I think, is a major sleeper who's going to go higher than people think is Tanner Connor. I don't know if this is, probably more round 4, round 5, but the Idaho State receiver definitely is a guy who could go, in much higher than people think because he runs in the 4.3s at 230 pounds. Do you go running back? Do you go?
I think Tampa's about to take a running back here.
Let's see what Tampa goes. Rashad White from Arizona State, pretty good running back. So there, now we may see a little run on some of the running backs. Jerome Ford from Cincinnati is a tremendous running back.
I liked him.
What's the need position though for the 49ers? Is it wide receiver?
Safety?
Is it safety?
I think it's DB.
Is it center? Is it or do you just go best player available? How would you guys want to play this if you're John Lynch?
For me, I'm pretty set. I really want them to get another defensive backfield guy, whether that's safety or nickel corner or whatever. Also, I have a question about, just because I don't know too much about this year's running back class outside of the top guys. Larry, where would Bijan Robinson go if he came out this year? Would he be the number one running back?
The Texas kid?
Yeah.
Oh, he's an awesome running back. He's another 230-pound running back.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, man. I would say he's a Heisman candidate next year. I would think he probably would be a second-round pick. The one thing about running backs, Kenneth Walker, I thought was the best back in the draft, and he went in the second round to Seattle. To me,
this is his catching out of the backfield, right?
Green Bay's now making their selection. Who's Green Bay going?
And they're going with
Sean Ryan. So the big guard from UCLA. The 49. This is now Parham's gone, Ryan's gone. If you're a 49ers, you're now on the clock at 93 overall. What do you do? What do you do?
I say Nick Cross.
I
like the Wisconsin linebacker Leo Chenal.
I would say Nick Cross right here. To me, this is the Nick Cross spot. Cross ran in the 4.3s. He's really tenacious. He can cover that deep middle. The Niners run a ton of cover 3. I think that makes sense. But I'll tell you, if they said, you know what, we want to go with the Alabama running back or the Florida running back, that would make sense to me. If they wanted to go with Khalil Shakir, that would make a lot of sense to me. It's the one area where, the cornerbacks, Myjai Sanders is still there, but they've already gone pass rusher from Cincinnati. I think he's a really, really good player. Amare Barno is a really exciting edge rusher from Va Tech. He's interesting, and he's still on the board. So, it's hard to say. Do you go best player available? John Ridgeway, the big defensive tackle from Arkansas, is
who's announcing this pick?
Dr. Disrespect picking for the 49ers.
I'm going to go
the Niners at 93. Select. Who are the Niners taking at 93?
I'm going to say LSU running back.
We shall see. Who is it going to be? 49ers take Tyron Davis-Price, the running back from LSU. So they did go running back, but they didn't go with, what do you guys think? That's a little bit of a surprise.
That feels like a Kyle pick.
He's got great size. There's no question. LSU backs have had a lot of success. The one thing about LSU is LSU gets such great athletes that you have to take almost on the scouting trail. You really got to take multiple looks at their guys because, this is a bigger back. It's a guy with a lot of power. Watching some of the highlights, Tyron Davis-Price, 379 rushing yards, 1,745 career yards, 15 touchdowns, 93rd pick overall. So then the Niners, they want to run the football, and we talked about running back. I'm a little surprised they passed on Brian Robinson and they went for the kid at LSU. But what do you guys think? It's a bigger back. They've got a smaller back in Elijah Mitchell, and then they also have Trey Sermon. And now they've got another running back.
I think Price would have been available at the end of the third at the compensatory. I would have taken Cross.
It's funny. Caesar says Trey Sermon on notice. Makes you wonder about Trey Sermon. Christopher, what do you think? This is another big running back. Is Trey Sermon on notice?
Well, they took Trey Sermon around this pick last year.
Yeah.
And I've heard in practices that Trey Sermon's not they don't love him, but I don't know.
Trey Sermon just doesn't have any wiggle. He you know what I mean? It's weird because he looked at Ohio State. At times he looked like almost a different runner. At times I thought maybe it was like some injury issue with him last year. But don't you kind of agree? It just looked like he had no wiggle.
Well, and what's interesting to me is that how many running backs the 49ers have. Yeah. What about Jeff? GTC Real says, don't forget Jeff Wilson.
Hey, Hasty.
Jermichael Hasty.
Love me some Hasty.
You know, I mean, the 49ers have a ton of backs right now. It makes you wonder if they're going to trade a guy like Trey Sermon. But I will say this: I saw the LSU running back a couple times this year, late in the year, and I thought, wow. When I watched film late in the year, I thought, man, this is a good looking player. He's got good size, so that's the interesting thing with him. You know, good size, decent speed, and a guy. You know, LSU gets top recruits, and it seems like year after year after year. They got guys coming out of their, out of their system who make it in the NFL and play at a really, really high level.
Number 8 running back in his class in high school.
So interesting. 49ers go running back, and running, and if you look at the depth chart, you would definitely say that running back was not among the most most important needs. But, this is a downhill runner. So, it's a downhill runner who's 6 feet and 225. That's the one thing. They don't have, you look at short yardage has not been their thing for the most part. And it's nice to get a back, who's got an NFL frame, who can run downhill, who's got that short area quickness potentially. But he's a big back by NFL standards, and he ran in the 4.5s.
It looks like he came in a little light at the combine, like 290, which just gets me a little bit worried. Like it looked like he was playing around closer to 230. Maybe he slimmed down a bit to get that 40 time up. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I just
yeah.
I'm hearing rumors that Matt Corral is now going to go to the Panthers. That's the rumor I've just heard.
Oh, that's smart.
Wait a second. This breaking. Go ahead, Christopher, once again.
Matt Corral is about to be taken here by the Panthers, I've heard from my sources. Reveal.
Wojnarowski.
Christopher's sources say Matt Corral will be going quickly to the Panthers. Well, if you're Carolina, now do you still want Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, Matt Corral, who's got a very good arm, and Rye, you said he's your favorite quarterback in the draft. Tell us what you like about him. I mean, I saw him play at the end of the year, and then I sat down in the one game to watch him, and he checked out. I mean, he got hurt early and came out of the game, and I didn't see him after that. But he's got a terrific arm. They say he can really drive the ball down the field.
He's got the prettiest arm. Like the ball just looks the best. It's just the easiest, most natural. He's got a little bit of speed too. I mean, he's more athletic than a guy like Kenny Pickett. I don't know. I guess I'm with Matt Corral. I'd maybe be worried a little bit about injury, and then also I think whatever the other big knock is just that Ole Miss offense is just so freaking wide open, and it's pretty easy to get the counting stats up. But I have to say, especially at the beginning of the year, I really kind of fell in love with him. I teetered off a little bit towards the end there where, you were saying like it seemed like maybe he's a little injured, a little checked out. But no, I mean, he's my favorite quarterback in the draft. I think that's a great pick for Teffer and the boys.
All right, 49ers are going to be on the clock here shortly. Let's take a look at the third round. That's where we're at right now. It's round 2 and 3 tonight, and round 2 is in the books, and now we're almost coming down to the end of round 3. Bengals are on the clock. They have the 85th pick, it looks like, or 95th pick, I should say, and the 49ers pick the last pick of the day today. So they pick 41st in the round, 105th overall. So we're only about 10 or 12 picks away from the Niners picking again. Matt Corral just went from Ole Miss to the Carolina Panthers. How does that affect Jimmy Garoppolo? Does that mean that they don't want Jimmy Garoppolo, that they don't want to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? The one thing about Carolina is there's no way they can take on Jimmy Garoppolo unless the 49ers or some other team is willing to take on Sam Darnold. So in some ways, Corral makes more sense for them, right? Because they've got Darnold, and now you've got a rookie who makes nothing. So those two guys blend together perfectly. But if you're going to get Jimmy, you got to take back Darnold. So I'll throw it to you guys. Rye, why don't you weigh in first? If it came right down to it, the Panthers said, we'll give you a pick and Sam Darnold for Jimmy Garoppolo, and Darnold was willing to renegotiate his deal from a 1-year deal to an $18 million to a 3-year deal, let's say at $6 million per, would you make that trade? Would you take on Sam Darnold as the third quarterback if you were the 49ers?
100%. I mean, the problem is now is it's like we're running out of teams, right? I mean, the quarterback musical chairs, it started a while ago, and it seems like it's kind of stopping, and we might get left with Jimmy. I don't really know. Like, do you have any other landing spots like in your mind?
Houston
Bears?
Texans, maybe. Go ahead, Christopher. What do you got?
Maybe the Bears. I mean, I think that could be a possibility.
Yeah, but that would create. They don't want that. Then they're in the same situation we are with Lance. Kind of, I feel like with Fields.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it? I mean, Fields has to play.
Fields
I would
has
say
to play.
Fields has to play.
Detroit?
That's Detroit. They've got Goff. They're paying him a ton.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I see the Texans. They at least have Davis Mills, and they had an interest in Jimmy before. And I mean, to me, that would make sense.
Would Jimmy want to go there though?
At this point, does he want to have a chance to compete for the starting job?
Yeah.
Michael Everett says the Niners should have gone with Nick Cross. What do you guys think? I mean, first of all, do you think they made the right pick with Drake Jackson? Do you think they made the right pick with Tyron Davis-Price? They went edge rusher. They went running back. What does that mean for 105? Do you think they go? Would you rather see them go best player available or address the secondary? Because to me, it's the secondary, the offensive line, or best player available. What do you think, Ryan?
I like secondary. I mean, what happens if we have an injury to our secondary at this point? Like, it's getting a little worrisome. I'm a little bummed about that pick though. I just, from everything I'm seeing, it's like he would have been available there. I mean, who knows?
Nick Cross just went to the Colts. And watch the highlights of this guy. This guy's a terrific player. Chris Ballard is one of the best GMs in the game. He really is. He's a phenomenal GM. And only because Andrew Luck retired do the Colts not have close to having a better chance at winning a ring. They haven't been close because they haven't been good at the quarterback spot. But look at Cross. He'll hit you in the run game. You can see that 4-3 speed. They use him as a blitzer. He can play the deep third. Watch this play right here. I watched that game live. That was a tremendous play. This is a guy who can cover the deep third of the field and really, really tenacious. And then when he ran the 4-3, people looked at him and said, wow, this guy's going to go in the second round. I'm shocked that Nick Cross is going right here in the third round, but that is a phenomenal pick by the Indianapolis Colts. So that's one key player as far as I'm concerned off the board. That's a really, really good player. Yes. Lance Bass, what do you have?
What's up, bro? It's me, Ben Slass. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Ryan. I'm a big fan of Ryan.
Thanks, Brent.
Get out of here. Big fan. We got this one on the text line. James Wilson says Price is a beast. So maybe he is. I'll say this. He's a 220-pound running back. LSU, the one thing that when you've ever done any kind of, football personnel, always take two looks at the LSU players. Why? Because LSU's a factory. LSU gets
down year two.
Premier athletes. Guys, I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And, on that national championship team, he was key, but he wasn't like, wow. Then he goes to the NFL and you're watching him with Kansas City and you're thinking, wow, look at this guy, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. LSU guys, for the most part, can really, really play. They just get great athletes for sure. What do you guys think? What's the primary need right now for the Niners? Christopher, what do you think? I mean, they've got a running back, they've got a power back, and they've got Drake Jackson, an edge rusher. What do you look for now? Do you go best player available? Do you go receiver? Do you go offensive line? Are you choosing between, best player available, according to Mel Kiper, is Sam Howell, the quarterback from North Carolina. But then after that, he's got Perrion Winfrey, the big defensive tackle from Oklahoma, Leo Chenal, the linebacker from Wisconsin. There's Kirby Joseph, who we still mentioned before, the safety from Illinois. Channing Tindall, if you like the linebacker from Georgia, he's fast, really fast.
I think we ought to go O-line if the right DB is not available, and I don't see that many like DBs that really pop my eye right now. So I like Zach Tom, Darius Kinnard,
Wake Forest, Darren Kennard, maybe.
Dominique Robinson's on the board at edge. I know we already took an edge, but he did meet with the Niners. So
that's interesting. It's like, do you just take the best player on the board? I mean, Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati is a beast. Michael Clemens from A&M is an incredible rusher. I thought Clemens was a monster this year.
So Larry, do you think that was their thinking in taking him at running back? Like, do you think that he was that high up on their board that they were just like, screw it, he's our best player on our board, like, let's take him? Or do you think they were like, we're taking a running back in round 2?
Well, I think it's really important for the 49ers to find a back that's dynamic, who's powerful, so Deebo can be a receiver. Because, I don't know if you noticed, but it doesn't seem like Deebo or the people around Deebo like the fact that he's a running back. And I don't think that he wants to be used as a running back. So,
I agree with the latest comment. I mean, I would rather have taken Calvin Austin over. Like, I would rather take a receiver at that point than. I mean,
JL will be gone by the end of this season. JL being John Lynch. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
hot take.
AJ. Okay, what do you guys think? John Lynch gone by the end of the season, yes or no?
Only if he decides that he's sick of being peppered by the media and, he'd rather just go get paid to do a broadcast thing for Amazon or something. That's the only thing I could think of.
Christopher, my small monkey, will John Lynch be gone at the end of the season, yes or no?
I don't think so. I mean, unless he truly royally screws this whole draft up again, I don't think there's no way.
That is awesome. Unless he royally screws this draft up again. That was beautiful, Christopher. Ron Holder says, as a lifelong 49er fan, born and raised in the city, little fist in the air for born in the city, I'm checking out. I can't spend my time and money watching this team when they're happy with mediocrity. You're checking out, Ron? Seriously, the 2022 draft is your checkout point?
Ron will be back.
Drake Jackson and the LSU running back is enough to run for the hills? Really? Come on, Ron. Don't go. Ron, you're born and raised in the city. Ron, don't do it.
Oh, Giants are down 5-2 also. Just check that. Dang it.
5-2 Nats?
Nats.
We're doing post-game tonight.
Yeah.
Ned Glutty's going to join us. We got to send Ned a note, by the way.
Okay.
Maybe I'll text Ned and make sure he's still down to join us. But it's interesting. I mean, Vish is weighing in on Twitter. Vish has got a comment. He says, I talked about this on the lead up to the draft with Sports Larry K. To me, Mitchell's stellar rookie season didn't mean that he was guaranteed to be the starting running back for the 49ers this year. Davis Price definitely has starter talent with his crazy explosiveness at his size.
Washington just took Brian Robinson Jr.
Yes, good back. And so he's off the board.
Chase Young.
Ron, thanks for the donation. Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't ever quit. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. That's the Jimmy V. Don't ever give up. Yeah, now watch the Brian Robinson highlights. Brian Robinson Jr., first team All SEC, 1,600 yards from scrimmage this year. This guy's an athlete. Now remember when you're watching this running back.
Kirby Joseph went to the Lions too.
He's close to 230 pounds. Close to 230 pounds when you're watching these highlights. This is a guy who's 230 pounds. Look at that cut. Cuts it outside, bounces it outside, and gets to the edge. Nobody brings him down. Here we go. A little pick and slide inside. Oh, a little cut back. Like quick cuts, real powerful, contact balance, stays on his feet. Look at that. Takes a hit there. Boom, boom. Dragging guys. 6, 7, 10, 12 yards. Brian Robinson.
ESPN has him as the 5th best running back.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's the Iron Bowl, baby. He just ran over War Eagle. Now here he is in the flat. sidestep that guy. Look at the contact balance. 230-pound back with pretty good contact balance.
I mean,
The Browns.
still has
The
SEC.
Browns needed him. The Browns.
Oh, we got a call.
They've got Nick Chubb. They've got who's the other back in Cleveland?
No, they didn't draft him.
Kareem Hunt.
Washington did.
Oh, Washington got him. Washington got him.
Hello?
I'm looking Browns beneath. I'm sorry.
Hello, caller. What's your name?
This is Jay Hutch from Murfreesboro.
Jay Hutch.
Oh.
What? No video call, Jay Hutch? What happened?
Oh no, you guys are rolling. I figured I'd just call in this.
Okay. All right. What's on your mind? What do you think of the Niners draft so far?
I swear, if we don't pick an O-line for our next pick, then we're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo because there's no way they're going to let the O-line that we have right now be trace protection unless we have a backup. That's how I feel about it. I feel like
okay. So let's go into it then.
If we don't get O-line help,
what O-lineman do you want?
I don't.
I mean, do you want to tackle? What do they really need? Left tackle is hold on a second. Trent Williams, left tackle. You got Banks at left guard. You're going to have probably probably Brunskill would be your center, and probably Jalen Moore at right guard, and then you've got McGlinchey at right tackle. You could use Colton McKivitz. There's still some veterans out there. I'll say this: Kellen Deesh, the big tackle from ASU, is on the board. He's still there. Rasheed Walker is a big offensive tackle from Penn State. He's on the board, kind of an interesting guy. I like Max Mitchell from Louisiana, big athletic tackle. He's there. Those are the offensive linemen that I think are in this part of the draft.
If you're looking for a center, there's Davion West from Arizona State. He's a center. I mean, they might want to target him.
Let's see. Kennard is the top guard on the board. Jeremy Sawyer from Georgia is a monstrous, huge guard. Maybe even a right tackle. Justin Schaffer's a guard from Georgia. Andrew Stuber from Michigan. Those guys are all not bad. Let me see at the center spot. Christopher saying Donovan West. Yeah, Donovan West. That might be the pick right there. That's a good call, Christopher. Donovan West from Arizona State, 6'3", about 295. Pretty good athlete, very versatile. Was projected to go a little higher than this. He's still on the board. Nick Ford is a good player. I saw him this year for the Utah Utes. If you watch Stanford against Utah ran for Stanford still has not stopped Utah's running game. And, it was 10 yards a carry. And Nick Ford is a really good center. We got this one who's making GTC Reels. No rookie O-line at this stage of the draft is helping. Well, I would say Donovan West might be the one. And maybe Kennard if you thought he was quick enough. But I kind of agree. I don't see an offensive lineman being the best player available at this point.
What was the last time a wide receiver was taken? I feel like it's been kind of a long time.
Calvin Austin.
David Bell. Never mind. David Bell just got drafted.
Yeah.
Majai Sanders just went to Arizona and from Cincinnati, another edge rusher. So the 49ers have another guy in the division they're going to have to block.
I got a question for you. Who would be free agent O-line that you would go get right now if you could have in the league?
A free agent offensive lineman that I could have? The list is so thin at this point. Isn't J.C. Treader out there?
Yeah.
I believe he's out there. He'd be interesting. I'd have to really study the list. Seriously, the guys who are available this time of year, and there's usually issues. And they're almost always medical issues. It's like, why is this guy not signed? And then you look into it. Well, he's got a rotator cuff or something, something major.
All I know is we need to protect Trey at all costs.
And what's the best way to do that? Is the best way to do that getting a line, or is the best way to do that, getting a receiver? Khalil Shakir.
Line has to be good enough in depth, I think. At least
to me, I'll say this.
in the Rams game, it just wasn't.
Wow. The Niners' offensive line is going to have to improve, but they're going to also have to be. They're going to have to be able to, they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to, and Trey's going to have make some plays with his arm. So it's not, the thing about the 49er offensive line is they came one game from the Super Bowl, and they had Daniel Brunskill at right guard and Tom Compton at right tackle. So all this talk about we got to get this, we got. Tom Compton and Daniel Brunskill was the right side of your offensive line, and you came, you had the lead in the fourth quarter against the Rams in the NFC Championship game.
Even the Super Bowl year, we had so many injuries that we played through. Staley was in and out, McGlinchey was in and out, and we kind of just kept surviving.
We've got this one from Billy, who says F the Price pick. Obviously an ego Shanahan pick.
I agree. I don't know what Shanahan. It's like he is the genius with running backs. He can turn anyone into a starter, but for some reason, he just always wants to pick these guys in the second.
How many running backs do you need?
Yeah.
Well, I will say this though. I like the idea of a big, fast running back, to add to this mix. And I heard a lot of good things late in the process about the LSU kid. I have not studied him. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at him, but I've got a buddy who liked him a lot. And Mike Detillier is probably he's like the mayor of New Orleans, and maybe we can get him on. Because Mike is as good as it gets, and he would know this guy like the back of his hand. Maybe I can dial up Mike Detillier. We can get him on the show, because Detillier knows this guy. He knows that part of the world, and he can tell us everything we need to know. And there's a couple other guys we could try to get on here. I'll say where I think the value is. I think it's at receiver. I mean, look at the receivers who are on the board as we're getting towards the 49ers pick. Khalil Shakir, Boise State, big time player. Christopher already said it. Bo Melton from Rutgers ran in the 4.3s. Has good power, good size. Justin Ross from Clemson is a monster. I mean, he's like 6'4".
I feel like that would be kind of a reach, though.
Yeah. We got this Sterling Holt donating $2 saying Danny Gray. Danny Gray is exactly the receiver they need, but Danny Gray also has some, he's a little fragile. If he takes a big hit, is he going to be in there? Romeo Doubs is a player that I've liked all year for Nevada. Played for Carson Strong. That's Carson Strong's number one receiver there. And I mentioned Tanner Connor. Tanner Connor is a name that's a sleeper name. Now, this would be late third round is probably a round early for Tanner Connor. But Tanner, go YouTube Tanner Connor, Idaho State wide receiver, and come back to me. You're talking about 235 pounds, and he ran 4.37. And then when you watch him on the film, you're like, wow, guy's got pretty good ball skills, and he kind of separates. Now, granted, Idaho State, the level of competition is not the same, but that's a name to remember as a major sleeper in day 3, Tanner Connor. Do we have a call?
Oh, no, sorry. He dropped off.
Oh, okay. So we're down to it. Let's see. How many picks away are the 49ers here in the third round?
4 picks.
We're down. Let's see. The Jets have the pick. Then it goes Dolphins, Chiefs, Rams, Niners.
Jets.
So
that's just
Jeremy Ruckert is gone to the Jets, and that's a good pick. The Buckeyes tight end. Did either of you guys see Ruckert this year? Christopher, you saw Ruckert, didn't you?
Just a little. He's a big guy though, and he's physical. I like him.
Yeah,
he's not my favorite. I kind of like the UCLA guy better, but I think this guy's up there. He's really good.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. Ruckert is an interesting player. He's kind of physical, as Christopher said. They didn't use him a lot, but you see him there bulldozing the Wisconsin or the Nebraska defensive end. He's got a lot of power. He's made more than one-handed catch. So, yeah, he's played in a big-time program. That's a nice pick. The Jets. How about the Jets?
Number 3 tight end on the board for ESPN.
Yeah, the Jets.
Jets had a great draft. Wow.
Yeah, Jets, I would say the Jets have had one of the better drafts.
Definitely. Hey, guys, I'm going to go grab some water real quick.
Go for it.
So I can spit it out when the Niners take another running back.
Let's check out what the Jets have done. Jets went Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner at the beginning, then Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Jeremy Ruckert, and they got 2 more picks.
Jermaine Johnson was a good pick at, what was it, 25, something like that?
Jermaine Johnson, yeah. Jermaine Johnson at 26, yeah, in round 1. Greg Cosell said that Jermaine Johnson was to get him at 26. That's pretty nice. Anyway, we got this one on the text line from Stephen Copland 8. He says, any local guys available? There really are. And I think that would be a year, but that would be a guy. Let's see. We've got this one. Tell us what is happening with PSJ. PSJ. Am I losing? Who's PSJ? PSJ.
Probably St. Joseph. I don't know. Probably like that.
Well, who is PSJ? J Hutch. Sorry, you gave us $1.99 and you asked for PSJ. What's happening with PSJ? I can't even think who PSJ is.
PSJ.
This is kind of an interesting one.
Chang's? No.
PSJ. Who's PSJ? Derek Deese Jr., who blew his dad. Who, by the way, his dad was a mediocre O-lineman, then developed to be a good one. I wouldn't call Derek Deese mediocre or anything. Derek Deese started on a Super Bowl champion. Hey, we had this one, Rye, when you were gone.
Yeah.
J Hutch. He says, when will John Lynch tell us what is happening with PSJ?
What? Sorry, is this one going over my head? What is PSJ?
I don't know.
This is first time you've been stumped today.
Oh, I thought this was
I get you. There we go. Porn star Jimmy.
Very good. Very
all right. Funny guy. I gotta think that this would be the day that they would announce it if there were a trade, but because of the shoulder, I think that's a non-starter. I do think Houston is the team that makes the most sense. Why? Because you know Jimmy's going to make some money. If you're going to pair him with a quarterback, you got to pair him with somebody who makes no money. So Davis Mills makes no money, and they did draft Jimmy. So that one makes sense to me. And Houston did trade back in the first round, so they do have a lot of extra day 3 draft ammo. So that one makes sense. That maybe Houston would make some kind of a deal for Jimmy. But
what about the Giants?
New York Giants?
Yeah.
For what? Saquon Barkley or something like that?
Well, if Danny Dimes is I'm just trying to think of spots where, I don't know. I've heard New York Giants fans in the media talking about it, and they seem like they're somewhat open to it. If Dimes is they decide to give up on Dimes, take Jimmy for a ride for 1 year, see what happens, and then, take a quarterback next year in the draft.
Leo Chanel just went. I really wanted to get him.
Leo Chanel just went. Christopher, you're a big fan of his. He went to Wisconsin. The Wisconsin kid went to the Chiefs. What do you think of that?
It's a good pick. I want the Niners to get him. He's big, physical, 6'2", physical guy. This is second team APO American at Wisconsin. Jeez.
It's funny. There's a lot of people that earlier in this draft process were claiming that this was going to be one of the sleeper picks in the draft, Leo Chanel. In Kansas City, I'll say this. I think Kansas City, guys, I think Brett Veach is a really good GM.
He's a stud.
They just make good decision after good decision. Look at their drafts year after year. Look at the moves that the Chiefs make. Look at this draft. They go Trent McDuffie, the corner out of Washington in round 1. They come back with Carl Loftus from Purdue, who's I think a big time player. Now he's not a burner. He's not a speed guy, but he's a power guy, and he's a power rusher from Purdue with a crazy motor and real toughness. Then they go Sky Moore out of Western Michigan, who doesn't run like Tyreek, but he still is a tremendous player. I mean, he's not the burner that Tyreek is, but Sky Moore is a really good football player. Then they go Brian Cook, the safety out of Cincinnati. A lot of people like Cook, and now Leo Chanel, the inside linebacker from Wisconsin.
I'm hearing that Logan Bruss, tackle from Wisconsin, that's the guy the Rams are going to pick. So with that knowledge, who do you think the Rams are going to take?
God, who is your source, Christopher? Who are you hearing that from?
I never reveal.
Don't reveal your sources. Never reveal your sources. This is an interesting one. If we cut Jimmy, he's on the Seahawks, beating us twice next year. That's a big part of this.
Seriously,
Bohemian Grove, I think, nailed it. And I talked about it a while ago. It's like, you know what? That's, I think, the big part of it is they don't want Jimmy to wind up there. And so, if you're John Lynch, what's the fastest way to get fired? You cut Jimmy, you get nothing for him. You don't sign free agents because your cap is clogged up with Jimmy's bloated contract. and then he goes to Seattle. You don't get a damn thing for him, and he beats you twice. That's your ticket to back to Fox right there. That's it right there. Seriously. I mean, if you made that move, the fans would be going crazy. Oh, my God, you got rid of Jimmy and blah, 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 blah. You never hear the end of it. Absolutely never hear the end of it. All right, so the Rams pick and then the Niners pick, and then that's it.
end.
That's it. That's the end of round 3. So
I'm
best
so
player
stoked.
available
Yeah.
right now, Perion Winfrey from Oklahoma, the big defensive tackle who dominated at the in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. He's interesting, but he's not DJ Jones. He will not anchor against the run inside. He's more of an interior pass rusher. If you like an interior run stuffer, Ridgeway is a great defensive lineman. Tariq Woolen, the big Texas San Antonio corner, huge corner. He's interesting. They already went running back, so I can't think they're going running back. But Khalil Shakir is a really good receiver. And when I say really good, I mean Shakir is I think a starting caliber receiver, and he's here at the end of the 3rd round. Donovan West, if you're looking interior, if you're going center, who's the highest rated center? I think it's Donovan West from Arizona State. And there's always that, that Lynch connection with Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards.
So maybe they go Donovan West here. I think that's an interesting one. I'm looking. They already went edge rusher, but Amare Barno at 6'5", 246 pounds. He runs in the 4.3s. He's intriguing as hell. He's on the board. So there's a number of guys. They've already gone running back. DeMarco Jackson's a linebacker I love. He's on the board.
Break it.
Here we go.
More sources that have told me that Danny Gray.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Here we go. 49ers. Select. Who are the Niners taking here at the end of round 3? Danny Gray. There you
Let's
go.
go. All right.
Danny Gray.
That's fun.
That's a good pick. That is a good pick. That's the receiver they need to run off the coverage. That's the receiver that goes perfectly with Kittle, Deebo, Ayuk. Danny Gray, SMU. We talked about this leading up to the draft. I think I did a video on this.
I think you did.
Right. Is there any way you can find my Danny Gray, D'Angelo Malone video and just get the Danny Gray portion? We could play my rundown for people with the highlights. See if we can do that.
Yeah.
Watch the highlights in this guy. Of course, if you're watching me on YouTube, you're not watching the highlights. But he played for SMU. Robertson was supposedly their number 1 guy this year. And then if you watch Gray, he's 2 steps full speed. And he's not tiny. You know what I mean? He's not a tiny receiver. He's got decent size to him. But, man, I mean, this on the deep ball there, he had to slow down to catch it. Mordecai was his quarterback. Here he is throwing a slant and go, and he's just gone. Look at that, just absolutely gone. You got to really – they're doing slow-mo footage of Danny Gray on ESPN. Go watch him full speed. Watch him full speed. This guy ran 4.33. I think they brought him in before the draft to look at him, and he was the receiver that fit the best with what they had. And I talked about it last week that he was the perfect fit for them at receiver. Why? Because – look what they didn't have this year. They didn't have the space creator. They didn't have the guy who's just, you have to be in a backpedal mode because he's on the field. Somebody with Tyreek Hill type speed, a home run hitter, somebody who at the end of the day catches, 3 balls for 93 yards and a touchdown. This is not a chain mover. You have a chain mover. His name's Juwan Jennings. You have a chain mover. His name's Deebo. Ayuk is a physical guy who can move the chains. You got Kittle. You got guys who can move the chains. What you needed was a dynamic runner and a dynamic receiver. And I think that's what they got. Now, I got to look more at the LSU kid, but I heard great things about how dynamic he was as a mover. And he's 220 pounds. And then you add Danny Gray, who's a true home run hitter. Now you're stretching the field. Now you've got a vertical threat. Now you've got somebody who defensive coordinators and free safeties are worried about. Now you got somebody they've got to honor down the field because you're talking about a guy who can really, really get deep. I mean, that's the one thing that was so scary about Tyreek Hill, and that's what Miami wanted. he's such a burner that there's no way to defend his speed. Same thing with Danny Gray. In a year where it was packed with wide receivers with speed, his 4.33 doesn't stand out. But if you go individually and watch each one of these receivers, there's a speed that you run in Indy, and then there's your speed and how it translates to the field. And those things don't always mesh up. Jerry Rice never got caught from behind. He ran 4.55 for the stopwatch. Vernon Davis got caught from behind many times. He ran 4.37 for the stopwatch. Your 40 time is an artificial thing. You have to then go flip on the film, roll it back and forth, and see if there's actual functional speed there, or if it is track speed. Some guys don't carry their pads well. Some guys, are fast in the 40 at the workout in shorts and t-shirts. But when you put on the pads, they don't run as fast. Other guys carry their pads really well and run fast. It's hard to explain. It's just the way it is. Danny Gray is explosive. And when you watch him, guys take bad angles because he's so explosive. And he's what I call two-step quickness, two-step full tilt. 2 steps, and he's going as fast as he can go. So love that pick. I think that's a really, really strong pick. Christopher, you tiny monkey, you were at the end of the 3rd round. Give me your breakdown.
I like the pick too. He's a senior at age 23. He's only 186 pounds, so I don't know if he can take the big hit, but I like the pick. I think there's a lot of good wide receivers that were on the board. I don't know if that was a wide receiver I would take. Of course, I said earlier that I like Calvin Austin, but this isn't a bad pick. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, they listed and they say he's a shifty open field runner. That's the scouting report. But yeah, what you really need to know about Danny Gray is he is electric fast. And this guy can get vertical, and that's what it's about for the 49ers at this point. They've got the underneath guys. They need the guy. They need Ted Ginn. They need that. They need Ronaldo Nehemiah. They need that guy that makes you go, uh-oh, we got to defend this guy. And then as you're running off the coverage and the safeties in the deep middle of the field, you hit Ayuk underneath. That to me is the use of a guy like Danny Gray. It's a space creator. In the NBA, they always talk about pace and space. It's all about, can you play at a fast pace, and can you get 3-point shooters that create space on the floor for your team? And it's the same thing in football. It's not about pace necessarily, but it's definitely about space. And you have to have that guy who creates space. Offensive football in short is about creating space, and defensive football in short is about closing that space down, in its simplest form. That's really offensive football creates space, defensive football close space. So you want athletes on defense that can close that space, and you want athletes on offense that their speed alone makes you defend the entire field. And now that you got Trey Lance and you got a guy like Danny Gray who can run, teams are going to have to defend every blade of grass, and it's going to open things up. You're going to notice between the combination of Gray's foot speed and Lance's arm strength, you're going to notice an enormous amount of space in the football field for the 49ers this year.
Hey, why don't we go ahead and tease that Danny Gray video? You hit those ads, and then we can finish up with it.
Nice. Okay, well, let's tell people about our sponsors. Let's pay the bills. And by the way, there's a lot of people in the chat during the draft. We're going to chat more tomorrow. We're doing post-game tonight with Ned Coletti after Giants Nationals. But join us tomorrow. We'll do some more draft stuff. And a lot of people joining the Krug Show, and we appreciate it. So if you love what you're seeing, if you love what you're hearing, if you like this content, if you want to hear more Niners and Giants and Warriors and draft and NFL, because that's basically what I'm talking about, click the like and subscribe button. Become a regular subscriber. It's free. And then hit the notification bell, and you'll be alerted at next time there's a Krug Show. And we're doing great stuff. At least I think it's great, and hopefully you do as well. But let me thank my sponsors, Telmetrics.co. Casey Bateman and the people at Telmetrics are proud sponsors of the Krug Show. And if you're an orthopedic surgeon, an occupational therapist, a chiropractor, or a physical therapist, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in clinical and telehealth environments. Using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, be sure you go to telmetrics.co. That's TELMETRIX.co. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics for being sponsors of the Krug Show. And thanks to Dan Coach Emilio as well, the retirement planning specialist, and our good friend, securemoney.com on the web is Danny's spot. Give him a call. He's, right now, a lot of uncertainty in the world. You want to make sure your money is secure, and that's what Dan's for, and he's a great guy. Give him a call. He's at 925-628-9966. He'll do an individual consultation with you. He's a big Niner fan, Giant fan, Warrior fan, so you can talk sports with Danny. But he's also will set up a retirement plan for you. And he's got 25 years of experience. He can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. Give him a call today for an appointment, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And as I said, we're going to be back later tonight with Ned Colletti talking Giants ball. Looking forward to that. But here is my breakdown. We did a video on Danny Gray. I did some draft videos. I only did a few of them. But to me, I did a video where I'm like, let's look at the guys who would really fit the Niners. And I went with D'Angelo Malone as a pass rusher, but I went with Danny Gray as the wide receiver. And Rye, take it away. I'll leave it to you.
Hey, Larry Krueger with you. Let's talk about the NFL draft, which is coming up on the 28th. Niners don't have a number one, but they got a bunch of picks. And two guys that they met with this week are of particular interest to me. Now, Danny Gray is a wide receiver from SMU. They met with him. He ran 4.33 at the combine. This guy is a burner, absolute burner. He was the Texas State champion in the 100-meter dash, averaged over 8 yards after the catch, which is fifth best among the wide receivers in this year's draft. JUCO player who then went to SMU, who was supposed to go to Missouri, then went the JUCO route, then went to SMU, and became a first-team all-conference player this year. And he is explosive. I mean, 2 steps and he is gone. Now, he ran a limited route tree at SMU. They used him primarily along the sideline as a boundary receiver. But, man, he is an incredible, explosive player. Now, with the 49ers, they got Deebo, they got Ayuk, they got Juwan Jennings, they got Kittle. They don't need an underneath guy. They need a vertical threat who can make plays down the field and create room. And this guy can do it. Now, the one thing about him is he needs to get stronger. That's why he's going to be there on day 3. He's not the most physically strong receiver you're going to see. But at the college level, he's beating the jam at the line of scrimmage, and he's doing it with speed, and he's doing it with quickness. And this level of explosiveness is really, really rare. So some guys run 4.33, but they don't play to that speed, or they play slower than their time. I would say this guy plays as fast or faster than he clocks. And as I said, 4.33 is plenty fast. So that's a receiver. Remember that name. Day 3 of the draft. Niners looking for a vertical threat. Danny Gray, SMU.
Nostradamus, baby.
Look at that. Danny Gray, SMU. Who had it?
This guy.
This guy.
Oh, also a little little note. Looks like the Warriors are going to be playing the T-Wolves on Sunday. Not the T-Wolves. The Grizzlies. The T-Wolves blew another fourth quarter. Right now it's 34-20 fourth quarter. Grizzlies are up 4 on the T-Wolves with 24 seconds to go. So,
ooh,
yep,
nice. We're patting ourselves on the back for having Danny Gray. TD Mendo says, I did too, Larry, at 105. Way to go. TD Mendo fished in the air. All right, guys, final thought. Day 2 of the draft has come and gone. 49ers Kate Drake Jackson, the speed rusher from USC. They come back with the LSU running back. Say the name again. Tryon Smith. No.
Was it
Tryon Price or something like that? We'll look it up.
Davis Price.
Say it again, Christopher.
Tyrion Davis Price.
Tyrion Davis Price.
Like 3.
And then just now, Danny Gray from SMU. Rye, quick thought before we say goodnight.
Really, really love 2 of the 3 picks. You know what? I by the time the season starts, I'm going to be all the way in on the LSU kid. I'll leave it at that.
Christopher, what do you think? You monkey? What'd you think?
Gosh, I think my favorite pick was probably the Danny Gray pick. I'm a little concerned about Davis Price, about some of the things there. But overall, I think we had a good draft. I can't wait for I think we have pick 134 in day 3, something like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, we can tell people what how the thing is looking going forward as far as when the Niners pick again. They do pick again tomorrow in the 4th round. They have one pick, and it's pick 134, 29th in the round. So that's their pick tomorrow. I'll say this. I think edge rush is key. You got to put heat on the quarterback. They didn't put enough heat on the quarterback in the NFC Championship game, and they lost. And I think it's cause and effect. If they put more heat on Stafford, I think he wouldn't have had time to look down the field and find Cooper Kupp the way he did. So I definitely think, that was that. I like the Drake Jackson pick. The LSU running back, I still got to study, but from what I've seen, big, strong, fast, definitely 220 pounds. And so Caesar, we appreciate that. And then Danny Gray, I think, I wouldn't have called this guy out before the draft if I didn't think he was a perfect fit. I think he's absolutely a perfect fit for the 49ers. They have big receivers. They have physical receivers. They got close to the line of scrimmage receivers. What they don't have is that receiver that makes you stay on your heels, that receiver where you have to honor that speed or he's going to burn you. They don't have that. Travis Benjamin is slight. He gets hurt. He's had issues staying on the field, and he's more of a veteran guy at this point. They need a young burner who can make a big impact and create that space. So I like that. As far as what they do going forward, I hope they go best player available. The season doesn't start until camp doesn't start till July. The season doesn't start till September. There's still a number of veteran free agents. You got one game from the Super Bowl with a Brunskill Compton right side of your offensive line. If you really want to impact your football team and turn things around quickly, you get athletes on defense and you change the guys who touch the ball, because the guys who touch the ball impact the game the most. And you can find guards, you can find a center, you can find somebody and plug them in. They're not going to be Linderbaum from Iowa, but you can find guys, but you can't find pass rushers. You can't find dynamic running backs, dynamic receivers, big time playmakers, guys who scare other teams. So I like the idea of going for speed. I like the idea of the dynamic runner, the dynamic receiver, and the edge rusher with big time speed. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. Join us in the post game tonight after Giants baseball. Ned Coletti's going to stop by. We'll talk a lot of Giants with Ned, get his thoughts. He's not really up on the draft at all, so we probably won't do too much draft. But we'll definitely do some baseball post game tonight, talking Giants. Christopher, Ryan, have a great night. Stay out of the saloons. Often wrong, seldom in doubt.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.